I am terrified for what's about to occur. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Xeno, the personification of a cry for help, and we are here with all under control. Finally, I'm going to play this visual novel. This has been out for quite some time now, but I was saving it for this month because it is the month of Halloween, and all things horror, all things spooky, etc., usually get saved for this month. So, I wanted to save it for this occasion. So finally we get to play it, and that means that once I finish this game, I'm finally get to watch Rachel Raven's gameplay of it because I was saving that for when I was gonna play this. So yay, I got that down. Perfect, yeah, right, cool. But anyway, this is all under control. This is by mrjimmydafloof. I barely know anything about this game actually. I will say though, I do know a little bit of it because I got unintentionally spoiled by my friends at the Red Panda. So now I know I'm not gonna say it in case someone watches this video and doesn't know anything about this game either, but I know a key point to it, but I don't know the entire game, if that makes sense. But anyway, let's go get started, shall we? A Night's Fright. Oh, is it like an axe? Act 1, A Night's Fright. That's okay. That's a sync. Okay. Did you just slap yourself? Should I be clicking on something? Oh. He looked weird the entire time. I don't usually let it get to me. Definitely not when I didn't have high hopes for sex to begin with. But I guess at times, the fruit of too much expectation turns out bitter enough to spoil my whole night. Guess I can be that petty. But I don't care to admit it. After the heat went down, we just lay there, with nothing to do besides showing each other all the dumb jokes we could find through our phones. And unsurprisingly, nothing got a chuckle out of him. Then I went to the bathroom for my meds while he set up his CPAP machine. I thought it must have been anxiety, which mixed with mood regulators could often be a load shot straight through any sexual excitement. That meant none of us were to blame for the awkwardness of it all. Simple as that. We tried. It was still fun, even if neither of us got off. But I couldn't get his expression out of my head. Despite my efforts, I didn't think he liked it much. Maybe not at all. I swallowed my tabs dry. Not a good idea. Then I gave him another look as I walked out of the bathroom. Alex was already asleep. The big shirtless polar bear, soft as a dream, wearing a black sleep mask atop the oxygen one strapped to his muzzle. I had known for a while, but it took months for our schedules to align to hang out tonight. I didn't go out much, and judging from previous conversations, neither did he. We shared dinner next to the pile of folded clothes he didn't bother putting away. We watched YouTube on a smart TV he didn't bother turning off. We tried to have sex on a bed he didn't bother preparing. And we used months old lube he didn't even bother ripping the seal off of. I wasn't judging him. Rather, I was just trying to look for a real cause. I guess one could consider it selfish to only think about someone else's troubles when insecurity hits. But really, cast the first stone, they who never second-guess themselves when just starting to know someone. We weren't close friends, after all. Not yet, at least. And I guess at the time I was more of an observer than a friend. More curious than worried. Even at late nights, with only a timid coat of outside light peeking in, the apartment itself felt cozy enough. When my eyes adjusted to the dark, I can see the bare minimum of where things were, including all the messy parts. I turned my head into a corner where the bookshelves, stacked full of PS4 games, thick fantasy novels, and Funko Pops, met with the sliding glass doors of the balcony. It was just a corner, perfectly unremarkable in how its angles fit together. And yet, it was that same corner he was looking at for most of the night, like he was expecting it to unfold before us. There wasn't even any piece of decoration on it. It was as bare and ordinary as it gets. I strained my vision, then approached it to touch the walls. Nothing special at all. Whatever he saw there, I wasn't seeing. So I went back to bed and curled close to him. It didn't take long for me to fall asleep. Then, maybe a couple of hours or a couple of minutes later, he woke me up with a paralyzing scream. His paws went up to his face to cover his eyes. To me, in the dark, it briefly looked as if he was forcing his wrists into his eye sockets. And then more happened. I wasn't about to make a big deal out of it if he wasn't. After about 10 a.m. or so, we both went to the living room for some tentative breakfast plans. He brewed some coffee for us both, and then he went to the bathroom to take care of the worst hangover phase I have ever seen in anyone. He looks... So there's our little polar bear. Well, little is not the right word to go for it, but anyway. Y'all know what voice I'm gonna give this guy. I'm really sorry about that. He said it as we walked out of the bathroom, wiping his cheeks in the spots where the eye drops had missed his eyes. Night terrors suck ass, Thiago. I've had them since high school. I shrugged. I was just surprised to see such a frightened bear. And you call yourself an apex predator. He didn't laugh. Instead, I watched him walk to the kitchen to warm up the leftover bacon pizza in the microwave, barely giving me a glance as he went on. I've just been getting them a bit more recently. I had a few things happen. I nodded and let the air speak for me. Just like I thought last night, there was baggage to unpack. I thought that maybe I should have declined his invitation to come over. But fuck, we have been trying to hang out for so long. Did he feel somewhat pressured this time? I couldn't linger on that idea for long. The microwave beeped, and as he caught me looking, he tried to smile. Then he put his plate on the table, and his eyes went somewhere else entirely. Another corner, closer to the dinner table this time, but just as empty as the one from last night. I looked at him for a while until I realized that he wasn't blinking. What's up with that? He almost jumped at the sound of my voice. His bulging eyes, slightly pinkish, took me back half a step. Then his face dropped, and his next attempt at a reassuring smile did a poor job at masking it. It was more like a grin carved out of Play-Doh, wrong in all the subtle ways. My mind's been all over the place. A rough nightmare will do that to you. I did, really. He shook his head. Really? It's that simple? I don't know, man. I can be pretty complicated sometimes. He chuckled lightly. This time it did sound a little bit more genuine. I thought you even liked complicated guys. I slouched back on the couch, lightly sipping on my coffee. It had gone cold way too fast. Look, about last night. I just wanted you to know I loved spending time with you. I really did. Oh, forget about that shit, bro. We all get nervous sometimes. Don't worry. It's not that. And it's not your fault. Not yours either. He sighed, nodding hastily. Right. It's just... Alice raised his paws as if to ask for time. He got up and covered his plate with a plastic dome, then turned to the empty corner again. This time, what I saw in him wasn't just a momentary fright. There really was some visible affliction coursing through him from head to toe. I could smell fear shaking his body. It continued until he approached me on the couch. I really needed to talk to you about something. To me specifically? I don't know who else I could talk to. He said it awkwardly. The bear had his paws on his knees. They were still shaking. You know, I moved here right when the whole pandemic hit, and I was never really good at making friends. And, well, Well, I did meet some other people through all this time. I kinda wish I hadn't. Really wish I hadn't. And right now, you're pretty much the only one I'm comfortable with. He was throwing words at me faster than I could process. I retreated to the other end of the couch, and his ears flattened. I'm sorry, Hey, it's fine, really. Look, whatever you're dealing with right now, if you think it will help you, you can just talk to me, okay? Right, but the thing is, I don't know if I really should share. He said that, then turned back to that same corner he was staring at. And once again, I saw his body language change. Alex? What are you looking at? The bear turned back towards me. His glare was not only cold, but a total blizzard. This is going to be a long story. Sure you want to hear? I wasn't. But if I was willing to be more of a friend than an observer, and if I was still interested in maybe something else, at the time I think it was the case, then I had to go on with it. It's not like he would expect me to give advice anyway. I know sometimes it's good enough to just have someone to talk to. Right now, in hindsight with the events that followed, I wish I had just run away the moment he asked. But we'll get to that later. Stay here and everything will be clear soon. But man, how I wish I had never stayed. Where do we start? Where do we start? Well, first I need to tell you about a couple of friends. Tomas and Diego. Where do we start? Well, first I need to tell you about a couple of friends. So, I actually already knew someone living in Sao Paulo before I decided to come here. A gray wolf I had known since high school who I moved here as a musician. It was funny, looking back at how me and Tomas met. Back then I played drums in the school bands, and we would sometimes just go to each other's houses for some games and music talk. I had this dream of playing in a rock band, and he wasn't half bad with the guitar. Years passed, and while I was the one who ended up working for a boring graphic design degree, he somehow managed to become a relatively successful musician on his own. Oh, that's cute, before the trauma. So when I was applying to study here, I thought, at least I already have someone to hang out with. We were both excited at the prospect. And to that, around that time, I had already learned a great deal about myself and my sexuality. I wasn't the least bit scared of coming out to him. In fact, I couldn't have hoped for a more positive outcome, since right afterwards he also came out to me as bi. We didn't have feelings for each other besides friendship though, and that was fine. As a whole, it still felt like we had become closer than we have ever been. Aw, that's cute. But then he said he was seeing someone. I was instantly curious regarding the lucky person. They were a man and, to my surprise, also a bear. Though black, not polar. The two of them were at the time taking steps to move into an apartment at Liberdade, which got me into some mixed feelings. I love where I live, but Interlagos is way too far away from the most interesting parts of Sao Paulo if you ask me. And with no subway access to boot. Still, he assured me we would still talk regularly even if we couldn't hang out often. And look, one thing I need to say right away is that Tomas liked to talk. A lot. To the point that, even if we weren't even sexually interested in each other, he had no shame in oversharing. A couple of drinks in, and he started to openly talk and tease about sex and kinks. Ever since we were teenagers, it was just something that he did often. Maybe way too often, but I don't mean to say I found him annoying because of that. In fact, I actually had fun with that kind of thing. And it didn't take long for me to join the horny talk myself. Hell, we even traded tips on sex toys, gay sex, preparing before bottoming, what lube to use, and all that stuff. So when he brought up the subject of a hypnosis kink, that didn't raise any red flags at all to me. Honestly, even sounded a tad funny. He was the last person I'd ever guessed was into completely submitting himself. Tomas said he and his boyfriend, he said his name was Diego, had quickly become obsessed with it. He admitted he did feel silly at first, as a skeptic of mind control's techniques. So when Diego swung a small pocket watch in front of him and read his script, he just played pretend until they were both excited enough they wouldn't have to kill themselves anymore. Meanwhile, I listened with a measured deal of interest. You know how it is. When a friend you love is genuinely into something, even if you're only intentionally there for what he's talking about, it is exciting just to hear. If a friend's joy radiates with glimmer, then his joy was a powerful lighthouse. It's so fucking hot! Diego's a raw talent as hypnotizer. Doesn't even feel like I'm pretending. Sure, it's easy to leave the trance when we have to, but it's all about that in-the-moment feeling, get me? And I say, yeah, hell, you almost gave me soul to try it out myself. And he chuckled. Come visit sometime, Alex. Diego will make you do the dishes for us. Naked, while we just sit back and watch. But plans to visit him for a test hypnosis session never really left our text logs or night outs. You know what happened. It was the early 2020s, and by April there were already lockdown attempts in most of Brazil. Sao Paulo got fucking bad, and since I have a history of immunocompromised people in the family, I didn't want to risk catching the damn thing. So every interaction with me and Tomas around that time remained through text and voice call only. He would tell me about shows and games that were coming out, how he and Diego were working together on some music, and how he didn't have to worry much about money because his partner worked at home as a professor. And of course, he kept telling me how the hypnosis was going. There was a point where I actually felt my body was moving on its own. Jerking him off, wasn't so bad to lick his tip, but knowing I couldn't do it unless he told me to. And then I said something like, does he make you purr like a cat when he snaps his fingers? Made you sleep on the count of 3? Then a series of laughing emojis later, he responded, I'm not that far gone, trust me. But you know, I still think it'd be hotter if there really wasn't a way of fighting back. See my body moving, doing things I'd be too scared to try? Fuck, it's just having a good time with barely any effort. Then I said, I can see the appeal of that. Is he really that good? You bet. Last night he showed me the websites he goes to for hypnosis enthusiasts. Lots of very helpful tips there. Voice annotation, how to write your own prompts, book recommendations, professional courses, how to set the mood. Then I said something like, just be careful not to give them your bank account info. Surely they can't hypnotize you to do that. To which he responded in complete dismissal, which I totally expected. Yeah, daddy, don't worry, we will behave. I teased him for calling me that. And then we both dropped the subject as we kept teasing back and forth until he went to bed. And honestly, I was still happy for him. But after a while, things began to slow down. He would still eventually send a text or two after an intense session with his boyfriend, but our subjects frequently deviated to somewhere else, and the conversation would die on the spot. It stayed like this until more or less the first third of 2021. That's when you and I began to talk, I think. And the lockdown policies were getting less severe, although I was still too anxious to go out. Stuff was getting a bit calmer in the country. COVID stress shrunk so that political stress could grow, with the president spinning atrocities on live TV. I was also starting to get used to how my life was going in the city. I got my graphics design degree, and back then I had been getting enough as freelance illustrator to keep this gay little apartment for myself for a while. Gay. In more ways than one. Then sometime later, after 2 months of silence, I woke up to a text with Tomas. I didn't realize it had been that long since we last talked. Coupled that with the fact I was always someone who dreaded random texts out of the blue, I was feeling a bit scared. I had this gut feeling, you know, like something was terribly wrong. Some kind of tragedy. As if his mom suddenly got terribly sick or some friend passed away. Or perhaps it could be that he had broken up with his bear and was down both emotionally and financially. It felt silly, jumping to conclusions like that. After all, he could have just said something like, "Hey, how's it going, big guy? It's been a while," or something like that. Nervous as I was, I could only gather enough courage in me to actually check the message till it was nighttime. Still expected some bad shit. And yeah, I guess I was wrong. It wasn't just bad. It was way, way worse. What did he send? Alex, what did he send? Alex paused, and I watched him turn to the kitchen. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, which is a city I was bound to leave behind at a certain point in life, given my disdain for both the sea and summer heat. But Sao Paulo is, as my mom would say, the city of drizzle. The real tipping point that got me to move in was how cozy it felt during winter. Now, while the bear took a break for a glass of water and a couple more eye drops, I felt myself freezing to the goddamn spine. The sky from the balcony window was sickly pale like the uniform shade of gray covering the whole city. Alex had been blinking much during the story. He knew that I noticed that. At the end of most sentences, he shut his eyes in obvious agony, wincing and baring his teeth. They were yellowish and thinned out on the irritated gums. He wasn't doing well at all mentally. That I already knew. What I didn't really expect was the places his story was going. When he came back with the water, just briefly glancing at the lonely slice of pizza he had eaten a few minutes back, he seemed eager to continue. As it turned out, this wasn't just as a vent, but a necessity. A compulsion to get the rest of his statement out there. I could do nothing but listen. Every word he uttered, carved in the back of my skull so I would never forget. I already told you I felt uneasy when the notification popped up. And when I saw it was an audio check, it was like a key turned inside of me. I thought, okay, this is definitely serious. I sat on the couch, made sure it was free of absolutely any other chores, and pressed play. Now, before I kept going, I need to reassure you. Everything I've been telling you is the truth. I'm not making any of this up. I still have the audio saved and to forward to you later if you want, but I'd really rather not. There's something wrong with it? And well, I could only form guesses as to what specifically after I went to his apartment. Alex sighed with a deep regret. But now it's not the time. We'll get to that later. Hell, we need to. Now the audio, it went something like... Like what? Like what? Oh god, his eyes. He stood still for a moment. Then something seemed to shift within him. Alex assumed a completely different voice from his own. It was raspy, drawled, and deep. A throat worn out from too many cigarettes in too little time, in which had known no true rest for way too long. Even his body language seemed to transform, as he assumed a slightly contorted posture on his back. His eyes were no longer at me, nor at any corner of the apartment, but looking directly through me to a point beyond space itself. Then he started. Hey, big guy. I know it's been a while since we last talked. Crazy time these days, eh? He laughed, the noise of a morbid ghoul. I wish I could tell you things were fine, but they're really not. Fucking far from it. You won't even believe it. And I don't even know how to start. I'm dropping the bomb right now. Diego is gone. Not like he abandoned me or we broke up kind of way. He's dead. Dead, plain and simple. And as to how, well... He was into something bad. Something dark. His voice cracked as his breathing became heavier. I need you to come. Please, I need to talk to someone. I can't do this through the phone, it's just so much. Way too much for me to handle on my own. Please. I'll be waiting for a response. Please don't leave me. He was shaking when he finished. At some point in the middle of his retelling, Alex almost started to cry. Back then, I guess it was justifiable for him to feel that way, but I couldn't shake that it was still part of some kind of act. It didn't feel right at all. It was making me feel uncomfortable, but I couldn't simply tell him to stop. Something had irrevocably captivated me beyond objections. Then, when the act was over, it was as if a shadow had lifted from the entire room. He was back to himself, stared at me with those terrified, unblinking eyes. Sorry, I need a moment. I just nodded. He got up for more water, and then sat at the table next to his cold food, silverware clinking loudly while he cut the slice of pizza into smaller bits. I sat next to him. The first shock to me was his voice. It sounded tired, yes, but that was not everything. I don't know how to describe it any other way, but I swear I could hear some kind of whisper between every pause, between every word. Like there was someone else talking. And it wasn't just an impression either. It was knitted. At first I thought it could have been the TV, but that would still sound somewhat distorted, wouldn't it? And there's more. Whoever that other voice was speaking, it wasn't Portuguese. It wasn't English. It wasn't like any language I ever heard. And yeah, deep in my head, I could almost understand the intent behind it, being directly transferred to my subconscious. Like thoughts forming in my brain without me even having the effort to think them. Like hypnosis. I felt a compulsion inside my mind. Tomas was calling me to his home. How could I refuse it? It was impossible. I didn't even send a text. I decided to visit him the very next morning. What happened? Now, first of all, I already mentioned how unsettling Alice's reenactment felt to me, but there was another layer to it which I felt like truly elevated it. This could just be me misremembering things, or posterior events reshaping them in hindsight. But as he was speaking, I remember also noticing some kind of whispering between his words as well. I didn't know what it was, and I wasn't about to start theorizing right away. As soon as it was over, I felt a wave of nausea spread through my body, then a slight headache, and then nothing else. Alex continued his story. This is terrifying, and nothing really happened yet. You know what? Actually, wait. This visual novel is doing something to me that I really appreciate that Dawn Chorus has been lacking, and that is, it gives you hints about the perspective in the POV. Because it repeats certain phrases that one of the characters speaks, so that way, when you read this, you know you're reading it from that character's POV. And I love Dawn Chorus, but the amount of times the perspective shifts, and I don't even notice until like later, and I've been doing the wrong voices for it, I get irritated. But to be fair, that's probably on me for not catching on quickly. I am a little dumb. Anyway, I didn't even send a text. I decided to visit him the very next morning. What I'm about to tell you is about the recollection of everything I saw that day, and a few more details I only learned about during the time that followed. I'll try to be brief, because after I got there, we literally spent an entire afternoon just talking. Sometimes over repeated topics, and other times over stuff I never really managed to make much sense of. Now, you already know I don't like going out much. Besides COVID anxiety, the distance from the rest of the city always felt discouraging in many ways. I also never got to learn bus routes, and since I've earned enough anyway, an Uber every now and then would never hurt. I always wished I had made more effort to visit friends more often after I got vaccinated. But like that Los Hermanos song says, leaving home is already going on an adventure. But my brain wouldn't let that cursed itch go away. It spoke louder than anything else. And while normally I welcome any reason to leave my apartment, this time it felt like I was walking into an early grave. Like my survival instinct was screaming, and I was momentarily deaf to it. Nothing would stop me. Tomas's apartment complex was beautiful, small, and filled with gardens and hedges around a couple of gazebos of Greco-Roman art style. I stared at them at the reception while the guard at the lookout filmed the wolf. During the Uber ride, I had passed by a shopping mall just a few blocks away, followed by a family-owned French restaurant and a small cafe and bookstore around the corner. Then I looked outside and noticed a little pharmacy and convenience store just a few paces across the sidewalk. That was a cozy location, and when they let me in, I took my time just looking around the complex. I always feel a bit class conscious when visiting such places. I didn't know how much Diego made a month, but if he could afford a place like that, I think he and Tomas would live in a dream. Well, Diego's dead, so I don't know how Tomas is going to afford this now. En caso de incendio, usa estada for the patata.
Mi gente latino.
Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, even after I got to his floor. Walking into the hallway, there was the scent of someone's mid-afternoon coffee from one of the rooms. Then the muffled beats of music from another one, like Anna Carolina singing about how much she liked roses. And then some muffled action movie sounds from the other one right after. Why was I so afraid there'd be anything unusual? Even if the audio had creeped me out a bit, it looked like this was gonna be just another visit. We'd sit down, vent for a while, watch something, order a burger, and then I'd sleep on the couch just to keep him company overnight. But that's not what happened, huh? But I got to his door, and all my expectations shattered. Like a prick on the back of the neck, where a sudden chill you're only supposed to feel in moments of near death. There was an aura of uncanny foulness beyond that door, even if it looked barely discernible from all others. Tomas didn't like decorating it much besides the Pride welcome rug, but there are some things that seem to go beyond what they look like. Our eyes cannot see it, but something else decides to feel its presence and its repulsiveness. Okay, before we continue, I just want to say this. Given the slightest bit of context I know about this game, thank you, Zed. But also the concept of kinks going on, I have a feeling, and also about Diego's death, mind you, I have a feeling that they're all linked to something, to a specific kink that, if this goes down this route, wow, they went there. Should I say it? Should I say what I think it is? What's gonna happen? I have a feeling. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I have a feeling that Diego probably developed a necrophilia kink. But he's the corpse. And maybe he killed himself. That's my theory. But anyway, let's continue. I turned the knob. He knew it was coming, so the door hadn't been locked. When I walked in, a warm cloud of rot and decay was the first thing to greet me. It was too dark and way too cold for a wolf. The dishes and cups piled in a sink like a porcelain castle, and so did the dirty clothes on top of the dining table. The walls appeared to spread out a dark gooey substance. And the smell, God, the smell. I can feel the filth in the air. It felt heavy to walk in there, like a dull knife slicing through burnt steak. Like strange to see in the dark. It was a warning. One I should have listened to before I noticed Tomas's frail figure emerged from his bedroom. Oh, damn! Bear? He murmured. I couldn't see more than a blurry shape in the dark, but it was obvious he was trembling, leaning against the wall with barely any strength on his legs. I'm sorry for calling you. I really am. I shivered. Tomas, what is all this? He didn't respond right away, and during that silence I heard that weird thing again. Whispers, coming from nowhere that I could trace. You better sit. We're gonna be here for a while. I'm sorry I can't offer anything to drink. I know you love coffee as much as I do, or did. Oh, Alex. I couldn't go for a day without at least 2 cups. But now it's been so long I don't even remember the taste. He chuckled at that. It was a drolled, terminal kind of chuckle of rusty vocal cords. I sat at the dinner table on the only chair I could see that didn't have anything on it, be it clothes or paper wraps from takeout orders. Then he left his spot, and my eyes adjusted just well enough that I could see him. Ooh, damn! Wait, he has the eye mask on. Bitch, take it off?
Take that cowbell off now!
He was... how can I even put it? At that moment, I remembered that the phrase thinner than death came on a whim and stuck with me. I saw his skin stretching over the bones. Fur seemed to have fallen from most of his torso, while a bunch of stars decorated him side to side. His face didn't seem much better. The unkempt tufts along his jawline pointed in all directions, and both his ears had been nipped at the base. His left ear in specific was missing a good chunk of the tip. Fucking hell, I thought, feeling as if in front of a car wreck. Had Diego done all that to him? If so, I didn't have any idea till that day. Then, I noticed his eyes. Or rather, I noticed that I couldn't find them. It's usually so easy to see wolf eyes in the dark, due to how much they reflect. But his were covered under a sleep mask. It only started a few months ago. I guess you could say, we got a bit too excited with some things. You must have noticed at some point I stopped messaging you about it. It's not because I suddenly got shy or thought I was bothering you. Things really got out of control.
Well, that's the opposite of this game's title. So you really fucked up.
And then he told me everything. Very slowly. Like he had been rehearsing all of this for a while. I think it took him more than an hour to finish it, but at the time it felt like just a few minutes. I understood why he had to take his time. Some horrors, especially the ones that dig deep inside you, require patience. You need to dissect them in order to rip off those roots and repair those rotten foundations. It's like surgery of the mind. Tomas and Diego were into hypnosis. For a long time, I assumed it was just play pretend on both parts. Your turn actually made someone do things they never do, right? But at a certain point, Tomas told me he really wanted to test that limit for a change. Paradoxical, right? Will himself to do things unwillingly. I didn't think it would work, and at first it really didn't. At least not as well as he had hoped. To give one example, if Diego was into water sports, Tomas was not. One night, Tomas wanted Diego to hypnotize him into drinking his own piss, which only resulted in the wolf vomiting all over the floor just seconds during the trance. That went on to other kings he said he wouldn't ever try, and others that neither one of them even were into. It was like a test of how far they could push that fantasy. Of course, though, Diego would sometimes try to push back. This isn't what hypnosis is about, he'd say, to absolutely no avail. Tomas wouldn't give up. They both kept going to more extremes, looking here and there for different methods of induction. Then something changed.
Oh! Okay. Yeah, that's the face I'm only a mother could love.
Something sinister had invited itself into their play, and much to their dismay, would give them exactly what they had been seeking. One night, Tomas saw that Diego had pulled an all-nighter on his computer. He never did that. A man's commitment to his schedule is the golden badge of a passionate soul, he would sometimes remark. Tomas saw him bathed in the blue light of his monitor, eyes wide open, grinning to himself. When the bear noticed he was being watched, he closed the window he was looking at and chuckled. "Oh, I got something for us all right," he teased. "Just you wait." Said and done. 3 days later, still with that same grin imprinted on his face, Diego left the apartment for a couple of hours to meet with a local friend. When he returned, it was with an even wider smile and a thick leather-bound tome, cradled in his arms like a newborn pup.
Where would you even procure that one? Where would you even procure it?
Tomas didn't say what kind of book it was. Wouldn't even name the author when I asked. Said it was some weird Arab name he couldn't pronounce. Then he said, when he walked in with that damn tome, I swear I could see the walls bend and contort to make way to new shades of darkness I never knew existed. This is the answer, Diego said. The answer to everything he's been looking for. Power and control. Tomas mentioned how Diego's paws rubbed the leather cover with intimate delicacy. He looked terribly eager to open it. You should prepare yourself, he continued.
Just give me some time. I swear this will be good. Tomas didn't question it. A few minutes later, he showed up in the bedroom, completely naked and already semi-hard, smiling and panting while Diego's eyes were glued to that book's pages. Diego then got up from the bed, placed the book on the shelf, and was ready to start their game. When he described what happened then, he was very specific to note how the bear seemed to move like a puppet, like he was hovering, bloodshot eyes locked on a distant place, that immutable grin of his showing bright rows of sharp teeth. Then it began. Every noise from the outside, be it traffic or neighbors, was snuffed out. Diego's maw opened only a sliver, and from the depths of his throat rose a dissonant chant. Tomas mentioned those damn whispers, somehow coming through between his words. They entered his ears like threads, wrapping tight knots on his braid, and made the spell take effort. The wolf suddenly couldn't move. He couldn't even turn his eyes away, yet there wasn't even a trace of fear. Why would there be? That loss of control was what he'd been wanting all along. The excitement was enough to drown all reason. On your knees, Diego said. Make sure to spread those legs for me, pupper. I don't know if he really used that word. Tomas didn't sound like pupper, but also that it could have been puppet. Anyway, when he heard that command, he said he didn't even feel it as his knees bent down to the floor tiles. He spread his slats apart, caught twitching and dripping while he panted. Then he recalled whimpering, practically begging for the next command. Raise your paw to me, the bear said, and the wolf's arm was lighter than air. Stretch those fingers, he instructed, and it was as if invisible cords tugged hard at his claw tips. Now be an obedient pupper and do as I say. Don't hesitate. Don't disobey. Don't even think of disobeying. I want you to grab your balls and squeeze them hard.
Cock and ball torture.
And at that moment, Tomas actually felt some fear. He wasn't into CBT. He didn't even suggest that to Diego before. He mentioned the pain it could cause to someone unexperienced was enough to make it a bit off limits. Yet he had to obey. There was nothing he could do about it. It was as if the muscles that controlled each movement had a mind of their own, guiding him towards the objective. Thomas was panting, watching it all incredulously, actually moaning for a split second in hesitation. Then his paw closed on his balls, and true to its word, it squeezed them. Tomas gasped, almost yelped. Quiet, Diego snapped. And then he couldn't utter a noise. The wolf could only bare his teeth, as tears trickled down his face. His paw tip was squeezing like he was trying to get juice from lemons. The pain was everywhere, no matter how much he tried to deviate from his thoughts. A supernova of intensity burst from his groin, fogging all his senses. He didn't even feel it when his cock burst out long, massive strings of his seed.
Ugh, Jesus Christ.
The pain was so nauseating, he wanted to stop, take his paw away and lie down on the floor, but his body wouldn't let him. Not unless he was commanded to. Whew. Paws up, Diego ordered, and both of the wolf's paws rose in a second. The cloud of pain took a long time to disperse, and it still throbbed and hissed like a boiling pot. Tomas's muzzle didn't move. He refused to look down at the source of that fire. The bear taunted him. You did a good job there, boy, but don't think this is gonna get you any favors. You wanted me to take control? Then I'll fucking take it. All of it. You won't touch yourself and you won't rest. You'll stay on your knees, paws up in the air, and you will only move when you come again without any kind of external stimulation. Diego lit his veins. Tomas seemed hard under his pants. He could even smell the excitement through the fabric, but the bear seemed to be indifferent to his own arousal. He was once again glancing at the strange book on the shelf. Diego then grabbed something else from it, which Tomas had noticed before, a long, sharp pair of scissors.
Oh no 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 no.
The wolf trembled, trying once again to stretch his legs. The bear wouldn't do that, wouldn't he? No fucking way Diego was into that kind of sadism. Not the bear that felt ill at the mere sight of blood. Tomas's heart raced as the big man came closer. All semblance of pleasure had been replaced with primordial fear. And even after the troll still closed on his ear tip, he didn't whimper, didn't gasp, and didn't even change his breathing as warm blood trickled down his neck. God damn, you're as obedient as it gets. Diego threw the scissors to the corner and then left the room.
Ooh. Ah.
Tomas remained there, on his knees and in the cold for who knows how many hours. He tried to make himself calm, tried to whine and whimper for Diego to come back and lift that freaky spell. He pissed on that spot, urine mixing with blood from his ear. He was hungry, and when his arms began to feel numb, he still couldn't bring him down. Then, eventually, the compulsion seemed to die. His arms collapsed, and so did his body on the cold floor. Diego was a little surprised but not disappointed. Not completely, at least. They would try again later. His new techniques needed perfection. Even Tomas knew that. The experience was disturbing, but when he recovered, he could hardly believe how intense it felt. It was like he was under another compulsion. He was terrified, and yet part of him wanted more. They played like that every day. Sometimes those trances were tests of endurance. Other times Diego only wanted to draw blood, just to see how far his control could reach. Multiple times he ordered the wolf to hold his breath until he lost consciousness. He compelled the wolf to pluck out his whiskers one by one. He ordered the wolf to claw at his own skin, slowly and deeply, and then to masturbate using his own blood as lubricant. Each time he commanded him, the words came out sharper. Persuasion was an art, and as such, it could only reach its pinnacle after extensive practice. Repetition is an executor's brimstone. 100 nights of practice, 100 scars of deep cuts, 1,000 more cups of blood, and Tomas can never protest. He couldn't give up his original desire to have his choices stripped away. They didn't even think of a safe word, and why would they? Somehow he was fine with that, even after he stopped feeling any sexual pleasure from their sessions. They would just continue, even if there was no specific reason for it. Tomas had become less of a person, more like a doll.
I'm so scared right now. I'm terrified. What the hell?
I wish I could say it was something as straightforward as some emotional manipulation that kept Tomas going into that cycle of self-harm in order to please his boyfriend. Or maybe he was simply that desperate to pursue his darker urges. But you know by now that there was something more sinister going on. No, all this talk about whispers coming from nowhere and our perception of space shifting around us wasn't just imagination. And if they actually were tricks of the mind, and we were all just hoping to find a supernatural explanation for the pent-up anxiety nurtured through years of lockdown, then we were all buying into that collective insanity. We were already prone to seeing ghosts, alright, but that was something else. And it all started, as Tomas pointed out, with that stupid book. One which Diego referred to as an obscure hypnosis guide, but looked more like some sort of esoteric text. Azathoth, Kudath, Hester, Kalstar. What do these names sound like to you? I would have found more of these, but when Diego saw me looking at those pages, he shouted at me to leave it alone and never to open it again. Then he said I needed punishment, and I knew in my heart it would be a painful one. Oh God, I knew it would be. Oh God. Oh God. He shuddered and began to sob on the spot. He changed real bad. No, you need to believe me. Diego was never like that before he brought that damn thing home. He winced if I was even slightly hurt, and if I raised my voice just a bit, he would go on to apologize so much it would get annoying. He used to be gentle. Then, I don't know. I just don't know. I guess I pushed him too hard. I tried to remark that it was bullshit. He wasn't supposed to blame himself for any of that. But he dismissed whatever I had to say. Maybe that's right. No, this is our fault. We all heard the whispers after all. Hell, you must have heard them by now, right? I guess I'm just having a hard time accepting something else was involved. but at the same time I can't completely deny it. It wasn't just me who was suffering, waking up every morning with cuts all over my body, joints grinding excruciatingly whenever I moved them. And all those nightmares and night terrors every night, he was also paying the price. That grin on his face, his bloodshot eyes like deep red orbs. And he got so thin he didn't even look like a bear. Neither of us was our true selves anymore. Something had lodged itself in our heads, moving our bodies, guiding our desires. There was another me in my brain, but it wasn't me. It was a parasite, feeding on me and my boyfriend. And neither of us could make it go away. It just kept going day after day, week after week. Then, I think we both started to see things. The shadows on the wall warped more of the space around them, and they began to take form. They created eyes where they weren't supposed to. And the whispers, fuck. I could still hear them clear as day. Tomas stopped, gasping for air. We're almost done. After a while, the foundations were cracking. But there was one day when things finally started to crumble.
I'm scared.
He went on to describe what had happened the day he sent me the audio. That afternoon, Diego ordered him to their bedroom like usual. He looked weak, legs not even bending all the way when he walked. His teeth in that perpetual smile looked yellow and frail. You'll do what I tell you to, no hesitation. He started as he usually did, but something was different. Tomas could feel it. The whispers were louder. The shapes on the walls looked more defined. The cycle is almost done. Open your eyes, keep them open. Tomas obeyed. Even when the discomfort started, his eyelids were in twitch. He couldn't even blink. You will see, Diego continued, as his paw reached down to his erection. It was a mutilated thing, red and inflamed with multiple rashes around the shaft. The bear stroked himself vigorously as he spoke. His breathing was labored. You will see. Then he started to shake. Tomas felt like he was supposed to do something, but his body was already locked in the trance. The bear continued to masturbate, his unkempt claws slicing through his shaft. Drool began to drip from the maw. Slowly at first, then on long strints as his convulsion became more severe. You will see. You will see. You will. Then Diego stopped. His entire body suddenly got stiff before unceremoniously collapsing on the floor. Tomas was free to move again, but there was nothing more to be done. He looked at the bear's body split on the floor and knew he was dead. Then came the other realization. Tomas still could not blink.
That's why he had the eye mask! Ah, fuck off, Diego.
He turned from side to side and tried to pull his eyelids down, but something kept stopping him. He could not blink.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, 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 wait a minute. Alice probably has this as well. That explains the eye drops. Wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It said that he blinked a few times. Did it? Oh no. Oh my god. And that because that he has the eye mask as well. And he was also applying eye drops to his eyes. Shit.
Seconds passed, then minutes, then finally hours that felt like entire days. Maybe you don't get the full scope of the agony yet, but if you try to keep your eyes open for more than a minute, you'll immediately feel the burn discomfort arise. In just the first hour, Tomas growled, thrashed, and clawed at his own face. He could not close his eyes.
And that's where we're gonna leave off for today. Oh my god! Now, let me tell you something. I have no idea how long I have for this game. I don't know if it's gonna be really short or really long. But either way, I'm gonna be late for something again. I'm bad at this. No, I'm really good at being on time for things. But sometimes things happen. Like, finally just 7 point for this. Now, I need to know where this is gonna be going. Where this is heading. But you know what? I actually prefer the necrophilia twist rather than all of that happening. God damn. Oh, God damn. I was squirming. Oh, I was squirming. Ooh, this is a good. This is a good visual for the Halloween season. Well, at least I can't wait to play more of this. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for clicking on this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe if you're really interested. I'll leave a link to the game in the description below if you want to go play for yourself. Only if you're 18 up, as you can see. This is a lot. I'll also leave links to my Twitter, Blue State, to support me on those platforms. And as always, I'll be leaving the link to the visual of me and my good friends the Red Panda made for the February game jam called When You're Mine. I can assure you, it is a lot less intense than this, although it's probably a lot more depressing. Please do show your support to it. If you do enjoy it, maybe consider rating and commenting on it on itchio. We love reading those, it makes our day. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!